Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Subcommittee on Economic Opportunities hearing today entitled A Review of VA's VetSuccess on Campus program. The VetSuccess on Campus program is administered by the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment program. VetSuccess on Campus began as a pilot program in 2009 at the University of South Florida, who is with us today, and has since expanded to 94 campuses across the country. The program is in place to provide veterans, service members, and their dependents with assistance and counseling as they are utilizing their GI Bill or attending school through Voc Rehab. VSOC is an additional resource for veterans and service members as they transition from active duty to student life and further assist them as they work towards meaningful employment following their military careers. Each school with a VSOC program has a Voc Rehab counselor in place to assist the students attending that school. While I do believe it's important that our student veterans have qualified individuals assisting them throughout their college careers, I've said before that I do have some concerns with these master's level counselors being at each VSOC location. As we discussed earlier this year at our oversight hearing on Voc Rehab, VR&E counselors are still experiencing high caseloads, yet more counselors aren't being requested by this administration to alleviate these weighing numbers. A master's level counselor may not be necessary at every VSOC location, but could be utilized elsewhere to bring down some of the caseloads. This doesn't mean that VA shouldn't have a representative at these schools. I'm just not sure if the current counselors are the best options. I hope that our witnesses here today are able to touch on these concerns and how we can potentially utilize the VSOC counselors to also assist in VR&E caseloads nationally. I do look forward to discussing the VSOC program's success and outcome measurements at its current university locations. Just as is the case with Voc Rehab, it's hard to fully grasp and track the outcomes of veterans who utilize the VetSuccess on Campus program. However, since the program was started by VA as a pilot program, is not something that is in statute, I think it's important for the program's future that we take a thorough look at outcomes and how our student veterans are benefiting from the program and that's provided while they are attending school. Having these discussions is important if we decide to make VSOC permanent for future generations of veterans. I'm pleased today that in addition to our other witnesses, we have 2 schools present that have VSOC programs on their campuses. With us is the University of South Florida, which, as I mentioned, is where VSOC was first piloted in 2009. And we have the University of Cincinnati, who also has a thriving program for their student veterans. It's important that we hear their perspectives of this program and the impact the presence of this program has on their campuses, as well as their interactions with VA. I believe this is also an opportunity to understand their best practices and how they share those practices with other schools and student veterans nationwide. Although I do have concerns, as I've already mentioned, with the utilization of all 94 locations of master's level Voc Rehab counselors, I do believe that this program can be an immense resource for our veterans and their families as they transition from military life to, and not only civilian life, but to the life of a college student. It's not always an easy path to maneuver, and I believe that this hearing is an important opportunity for the subcommittee and our witnesses to focus on enriching and expanding this resource even more. With that, I recognize the ranking member, Mr. Takano, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the opportunity for the subcommittee to take a close look at the VetSuccess on Campus program today. As you know, VSOC provides an on-campus resource where veterans, service members, and qualified dependents can receive support for any issue or concern that might interfere with a student's goal of persisting through to graduation. Obstacles could include VA benefit issues, questions about where to go for mental health counseling, concerns about financial or legal issues, or job market information. We know from many studies that successful transition from active duty to civilian life requires significant planning and support from the military and the VA. Transitioning from active duty to campus life can be even more daunting, especially for first-generation college students. Add the burdens of injury or PTS, and it is not hard to imagine why graduation levels are not as high as we would like them to be for veterans using their GI Bill benefits. Now, this is where the VSOC counselor comes in, however. They are easily accessible on campus, so problems are resolved as quickly and as easily as possible. I'm hoping VA will provide us with concrete data on VSOC outcomes today. I want to hear evidence that the program provides clear, quantifiable benefits to student veterans, data that will increase the likelihood that we can expand this successful program. I also know that the VSOs support this program and were instrumental in creating it. If they have recommendations for how the VSOC program can be improved now that it has existed for almost 6 years, I want to hear what they have to say. I thank the witnesses for being here today, and I look forward to the opportunity to hear your views and ask questions. Thank you, Chairman Winstrup, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the ranking member, and I now invite our first and only panel to the table. I do want to thank our witnesses for understanding that we had to combine panels today due to scheduling issues, but I appreciate you being here, and I view your testimony as very important. I want to welcome back my friend, Mr. Terence Harrison, who's the Manager for Veterans Programs and Services at the University of Cincinnati. I also want to welcome Dr. Lawrence A. Braue, who is the Director for the Office of Veterans Services at the University of South Florida, Mr. Will Hubbard, Vice President of Government Affairs for Student Veterans of America, Mr. Ryan Kaufman, who's the Nebraska Veteran Team Leader for the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and Mr. Jack Kammerer, the Director of the Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment Services at VA. All of your complete written statements will be made part of the hearing record, and each of you will be recognized for 5 minutes for your oral statement. So let's begin with you, Mr. Harrison. You're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Chairman Winstrup, Ranking Member Takano, and members of the Subcommittee of Economic Opportunity for inviting me to participate in today's hearing on the Department of Veterans Affairs VetSuccess on Campus program. Once again, my name is Terence Harrison. I am the Manager of Veterans Programs and Services at the University of Cincinnati. The University of Cincinnati, or UC, is a public research university enrolling more than 44,000 undergraduate and graduate students in 2014. Our campus is made up of students from all 50 states and over 100 countries from around the world. Recognized as a military-friendly school, UC is both a leader and champion in military and veteran-related issues. Currently, UC enrolls about 2,392 military-affiliated students, including active-duty military, members of the National Guard and Reserves, veterans, and family members. Of this, 1,016 students are using GI Bill benefits. With the anticipated drawdown of active duty personnel, the University of Cincinnati is energetically positioning itself to accommodate these students. UC adheres closely to the VA's principles of excellence in providing a high-quality educational experience tailored to the unique needs of our veteran students. The University of Cincinnati continues to hold a positive view on the VetSuccess on Campus, or VSOC program. UC is home to one of 3 VSOC programs in the state of Ohio, with the other 2 being Ohio State and Cleveland State universities. The VSOC program aims to assist veterans and service members, as well as their dependents, as they transition from active duty to post-secondary education. Through the VSOC program, a VA vocational rehab counselor is assigned to UC to support veterans and assist with any problems that may arise that may interfere with the education of a student veteran. At UC, student veterans regularly reach out to VSOC for assistance on a range of matters, including expediting resolving issues with VA educational benefits, looking up pending VA payments and when they can expect to receive them, explaining VA payments clearly, assisting in applying for education, health care, and other VA benefits, questions about the remaining benefits, and understanding and resolving VA debt. VSOC is a valuable resource for our student veterans and ensures that they receive expedient service from the VA while they attend UC. Our VSOC counselor has been with the VA for over 9 years and has been helpful in establishing a successful VSOC program at UC. The UC's partnership with VSOC began in September of 2013. At UC, VSOC is housed within the same room or building as the Veterans Programs and Services Office to meet the needs of student veterans and to provide a cross-functional team approach to resolving challenges that our veterans face. Housing the VSOC office and our VSOC counselor on campus allows UCs to coordinate with the VA. VSOC conducts additional outreach activities, including employment workshops focusing on translating military schools into a civilian resume, recognizing post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury symptoms, new student orientation, town hall meetings, job fair, and health fairs in collaboration with VA medical centers. In addition to VSOC, the University of Cincinnati is also a Veterans Integration to Academic Leadership, or a VITAL location. VSOC and VITAL together have developed a streamlined approach to assisting veterans with VA medical center needs. This approach provides UC's veterans with expedited VA Medical Center service coordination at the Cincinnati VA Medical Center. In order to best meet the needs and improve the services for our student veterans, we believe that it is important to expand the VSOC program to additional schools. For smaller schools that do not have a VSOC, we suggest that VSOC work with a number of schools in the geographical area. For example, in Southwest Ohio, one counselor could oversee Xavier University, Cincinnati State Technical and Community College, and Mount St. Joseph University. The caseload of these counselors could be comparable to the caseload at larger schools and give the student veterans at these institutions the support that they need. As for improved coordination between universities and the VA, we have found that housing our VSOC counselor on campus has allowed UC and the VA to easily collaborate, which is beneficial to our student veterans. In closing, I'd like to thank you again for allowing me to discuss the VSOC program and to share in the great work that the University of Cincinnati is doing to accommodate our student veterans. I look forward to working with you as you expand services for student veterans and again offer the University of Cincinnati as an example to inform policy and to guide schools in shaping their programs. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Colonel Braue, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Wenstrup, Ranking Member Takano. On behalf of the University of South Florida, thank you for holding today's hearing and allowing us to share our experience with the VetSuccess on Campus program and its impact that it makes on our campus every day. By way of background, the University of South Florida is a high-impact global research university dedicated to student success. It is the 8th largest university in the U.S. and serves over 48,000 students. In addition, over 2,000 veterans and their families are enrolled as students at USF. USF was ranked by Military Times Best for Vets magazine as the 5th best college for veterans. Under leadership of President Judy Genschaft, the University of South Florida has become a national leader in serving student veterans. In 2009, the University of South Florida became the first institution of higher learning to participate in the Department of Veterans Affairs VetSuccess on Campus program. Ms. Janine Frederick is our current VSOC counselor and has served in this role since June of 2010. Ms. Frederick quickly became an integral part of the Office of Veteran Services team and an effective liaison between USF and the VA. Ms. Frederick is an amazing counselor and has made the program a complete success on our campus. Having the VSOC counselor available to veterans on a daily basis has vastly improved the university's ability to meet the needs of our students. In addition, it has greatly increased the confidence that our student veterans have in the Department of Veterans Affairs. Through the VetSuccess on Campus program, our counselor has developed an extremely effective outreach program that dramatically increased the awareness of VA programs and benefits available to student veterans. This calendar year, Ms. Frederick has helped over 300 veterans individually and reached over 750 students through various campus outreach events. She is frequently called upon to advocate for veterans with faculty members who do not understand the challenges our disabled veterans face in the classroom. In the fall of 2013, Ms. Frederick initiated a highly successful vet-to-vet tutoring program where academically successful VA work-study veterans would provide one-to-one tutoring for other student veterans. Since this program started in the fall of 2013, over 165 students have received individualized tutoring services at no cost to the veteran. The VetSuccess on Campus program has not been without challenges for the University of South Florida. It's important that I clarify that I can only speak for the University of South Florida in what we've experienced. The VetSuccess on Campus program is influenced by 2 separate offices with the Vocational Rehabilitation Education arm of the VA. Oftentimes, those 2 offices provide our VSOC counselor with competing or conflicting guidance. Because the regional office has a very limited understanding of VSOC and is not involved in the day-to-day operation of the program, it makes it very difficult for them to provide effective supervision for the VSOC counselor. Over time, the VetSuccess on Campus program's purpose and goals have changed without some collaborative effort with the university. For example, recently the VRNE office assigned a Chapter 31 caseload of 50 to our VSOC counselor. This is approximately 1/3 of the Chapter 31 caseload for a full-time VRNE counselor. This is a significant change which alters the way the VSOC functions on our campus. This change is also inconsistent with the Memorandum of Understanding between USF and the VA, which creates hardship for the VSOC counselor and the school. This effectively reduces her ability to have a positive impact on the academic and lifelong success of the total veteran population on campus. In order to maximize the effectiveness of our partnership, the university should be a part of the program development and decision-making process. I believe with a few structural and leadership modifications, this program could greatly enhance retention and graduation rates for students using the post-9/11 GI Bill. My recommendations would be to simplify the reporting structure for the VetSuccess on Campus program by creating one office that would oversee the program and the VSOC counselors and ensure that the VSOC counselors do not receive direction and guidance from multiple sources. Establish and maintain consistent, meaningful dialogue between the VA and the university, ensuring that the university has a voice in the program development and decision-making process. I also believe it is critical that the VA include colleges and universities in the plan to develop success metrics for graduation and retention of veterans using the GI Bill. Again, I want to thank the committee for allowing the University of South Florida to share our experiences with the VetSuccess on Campus program. It is an honor and a privilege to have this amazing program on our campus. I hope that we can build upon the successes of the program and make the adjustments necessary to make the program even stronger for our future student veterans. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Braue. Mr. Hubbard, welcome back. You're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Wenstrup, Ranking Member Takano, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for inviting Student Veterans of America to submit our testimony on the Department of Veterans Affairs VetSuccess on Campus program. With over 1,200 chapters across the country, we are pleased to share this perspective of those most directly impacted by the subject with this committee. Established in 2008, SVA has grown to become a force and voice for the interests of veterans in higher education. With this opportunity to address the VSOC program, we will discuss the program's successes, areas for improvement, and the related issue of post-9/11 GI Bill processing challenges that we saw this fall. For student veterans at 94 campuses across the country, they have the benefit of a VetSuccess on Campus program. The VSOC program entails the campus having a VSOC counselor or full-time VA detailee right on campus. We are highly supportive of this program's intent, which we believe to be quite complementary with our own mission. When surveying over 30 student veterans from 12 schools that participate in the VSOC program, the response was overwhelmingly positive. More than 85% of stakeholders, including SVA chapter presidents, chapter members, and chapter advisors, rate VSOC as a 7 out of 10 or higher on a 1 to 10 scale. Additionally, 3 out of 5 respondents say they rate their program as a 9 or a 10. One student veteran shared, "We have a VSOC counselor from the VA come to the school twice a month so vets can start a new claim or ask questions concerning a claim. This helps immensely as the VA hospital is a 35-minute drive from the school and keeps our vets on campus. Vets can ask our counselor any type of question concerning their benefits. They also have a voc rehab counselor for a few of the vets on campus. We are incredibly lucky to have this program on campus." In addition to the general support provided by the VSOC counselors, student veterans noted the ability of counselors to quickly correct both process certifications and as a major benefit on their campus. They often appreciated the connection counselors make with the school administration as well. We believe the VSOC program is highly beneficial to student veterans and would like to see it expanded as resources allow. While the feedback we received was almost uniformly positive, in fact, when asked what they would change, many student veterans replied, "Nothing." We have identified several opportunities for improvement of the program. The 3 most common improvements included awareness of the program, expanding to more campuses, and increasing additional personnel support for the program. We believe it would also be worth considering the criteria of a VSOC campus, as a school with 800 or more veterans is likely to have reasonable resources at this time. Schools with fewer than 800 veterans or greater may have a higher return on investment. To keep costs down, as my colleague pointed out earlier, grouping demographically close IHLs would be something worth thinking about. Turning to GI Bill processing issues, this fall semester highlighted several challenges that directly impacted student veterans. In early September, significant delays in the processing of GI Bill benefits became an obvious concern. Ultimately, the core challenges of VA's reliance on overtime hours for full-time employees during the peak periods of fall and spring enrollment continue to be an issue. Under a unique solution with the National Student Clearinghouse, VA and taxpayers incur no additional cost since the schools selected send the data through NSC, paying for the cost of the service, while VA benefits from the streamlined data submissions and research capabilities in conjunction with EdData are resulting. This all with the added benefit of real-time measurement of completions and program efficacy, and we're happy to discuss that concept in further detail. We thank the committee for this opportunity to testify on these important issues and look forward to questions as they come up.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hubbard. And Mr. Kaufman, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Winstrup, Ranking Member Takano, and distinguished members of the subcommittee, on behalf of the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America and our more than 425,000 members and supporters, we would like to extend our gratitude for the opportunity to share our views on VA's VetSuccess on Campus program. I served in the United States Army from 2000 to 2003. I was deployed with the 1st Brigade Combat Team in October of 2001 to Kuwait and Afghanistan as a signal support system specialist. Upon my return, the proper procedures and resources were not in place to catch the post-traumatic stress that I was dealing with. At 19 years old, I came home, and I was afraid of the dark. I couldn't sleep, and I had a hard time eating. If the task was not mission critical, I could not find the motivation within myself to complete the task. 2 months after I returned home, I caused an accident, almost killing myself and a friend. I was charged with driving under the influence. Everyone, including myself, just thought I had a problem with alcohol. But then I tested positive for marijuana. I had left the Army no choice. I was discharged with a general under honorable conditions. 6 months after my discharge, I was homeless. A year prior, I was part of the world's greatest machine, the United States Army. But by December 2003, I found myself walking into a homeless shelter, unable to feed or house myself. I couldn't comprehend how this had happened. Shortly thereafter, I was granted a couch in a friend's basement. I wish I'd straightened my life out then, but this would not be my last experience with homelessness. In September of 2004, I enrolled in college for the first time. My discharge has left me without the GI Bill, so I took out Stafford loans like the rest of the civilian population. I would repeat the homeless cycle and enroll in college 2 more times, only to fail out each time in the first semester. By 2011, I found permanent sobriety, and after 4 years of documented VA therapy and appeal after appeal, I was granted a service-connected disability in October of 2012. With school constantly on my mind, I immediately applied for the Vocational Rehabilitation and VetSuccess program, was interviewed, approved, and enrolled in another college. Jennifer Singer was the VA social worker who interviewed me for the Vocational Rehabilitation program and then was assigned to my case. The interview was tough. She asked some very personal questions. Ms. Singer advised me that she was investing in me. She was going to spend around $100,000 on my education with her time and my education cost, as well as my supply cost. Ms. Singer understood my background. I came from a single-parent household. My parents did not attend college. My father barely graduated high school, and my mother, my primary caregiver, never made over $30,000 a year in her lifetime. In a place without mass transit, we did not own a vehicle until I was 15 years old. But because of the VetSuccess program, my children, both under the age of 2, will understand the importance of an education. Not because I said so, but because I did so. I'm currently an organizational communication major at Doane College in Grand Island, Nebraska. And the community college I attended, I was part of the Honor Society. We all know the statistics of children whose parents did not attend or graduate college. The challenges they face multiply immensely. But because of VetSuccess, not only will the barriers to my success be broken down, but also my children's, and they haven't even enrolled in a learning system yet. Ms. Singer was also concerned about my mental health, my sobriety, and my living situation. Her job was not merely to just make sure I attended and passed classes. She would hold me accountable, and I would give her my full effort during my vocational rehabilitation assignment. Since late January of 2013, I have accumulated over 60 credit hours, transferred from a community college to a 4-year school, and have kept a 3.75 cumulative GPA. After my bachelor's program, I will move on to a master's degree program. The master's degree will be in management with an emphasis of leadership. Few chronically homeless individuals in this country get master's degrees, and even fewer get doctorates, but that's where I'm headed. Without the VetSuccess program, this would not be possible. My social worker, Jennifer Singer, is a guardian angel. Ms. Singer and I check in with one another each month. I'm accountable to my VA mental health and physical health appointments. I report to her on my sobriety, my coping skills, both positive and negative, my current employment situation, and my family situation. Ms. Singer holds me responsible as a student, as an employee, as a father, as a sober member of society, and as a husband. She keeps the goals that I set on the forefront of my mind. Is it hard work? Hell yes, it's hard work. But someone's investing in me, so I owe them the effort and the results. She reminds me that I'm an example to other veterans in my community. And believe me, other veterans are watching. I can provide them something that no one else in the community can, proof. Proof that the VA works, proof that accountability works, and proof that we can turn our lives around if we're willing to work with someone for it. I cannot say it enough, without Jennifer Singer and VetSuccess, my family and I would not be where we are today. I want to thank you for your time and your attention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaufman. Welcome back, Mr. Kammerer. You're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Winstrup, Ranking Member Takano, thank you for inviting me to appear before you today to discuss the Department of Veterans Affairs VetSuccess VSOC program, which is administered through the Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment VRE service. Since inception of the post-9/11 GI Bill in 2009 through August of 2015, VA has issued nearly $55 billion to send 1.45 million veterans and their qualified dependents to institutions of higher education. VA's VSOC program helps veteran students and their qualified dependents succeed through a coordinated delivery of on-campus benefits assistance and counseling by professionally experienced and trained VRE counselors. The VSOC program is a collaborative effort between the host institution and the VA with the purpose of providing a supportive on-campus environment whereby veterans may obtain benefits assistance and peer support. Our 79 VSOC counselors at 94 college and university partners are able to provide this on-campus access to VA services for approximately 78,000 veterans. VA's VSOC program began as a pilot in 2009, in which one VRE counselor was assigned at the University of South Florida campus. To date, the program has expanded to include a total of 79 VSOC counselors providing on-campus services at 94 institutions across the United States. Acting as the primary on-campus representative of the VA, the VSOC counselor provides outreach and support to all veterans on campus. To better assist veterans in transitioning from the military to the college environment, VSOC counselors offer a broad range of counseling services, including educational, vocational, and career and adjustment counseling. They provide vocational testing and career academic and adjustment counseling to resolve any potential problems that may interfere with or disrupt a veteran's success while attending college. VSOC counselors also use all appropriate and necessary resources to ensure the veterans' needs are met in regards to issues or problems that may hamper the successful completion of their educational programs. Our counselors also assist veterans with referrals for more intensive health services, including mental, physical, or other health treatment through our Veterans Health Administration medical centers, community-based outpatient clinics, or the vet centers. VSOC counselors establish and maintain an effective network of other appropriate service providers and stakeholders who are available to assist veterans in need. The desired outcome is to provide veterans with enhanced opportunities to achieve success in their academic endeavors and to prepare for entering the labor market in viable and enduring careers. With our team of 79 VSOC counselors at the 94 schools, VRE continues to provide education and vocational counseling and other on-site services to the available population at those schools of approximately 78,000 veterans on campus. The majority of the veterans receiving services visit a VSOC counselor in person, with the others communicating with their counselor by telephone or by mail. In an effort to expand available on-campus services, VSOC counselors are coordinating with host institutions to establish or enhance peer-to-peer veteran mentoring programs to address military to college transition issues. At the beginning of each fall and spring term, VSOC counselors conduct orientation sessions to assist newly enrolled in veterans in acclimating to the college campus environment. This fall, VA worked in conjunction with partner institutions to host back-to-school informational events at 10 VSOC sites. These events introduce newly enrolled students and educators to the veteran student community, familiarize veterans with their VSOC counselors and services, and ultimately will work to cultivate the most supportive community for veterans at their institution. VA is committed to the VSOC program and recognizes the demand and the need for this program as veterans take advantage of their well-earned GI Bill benefits. VA continues to receive inquiries from institutions that are interested in assigning a VSOC counselor. We evaluate interested institutions for potential future participation in the VSOC program, and we will continue to inform the committee of the evolution of the program in the future. We continue to assess and approve the VSOC program for a most deserving population of those who have decided to commit to furthering their educational and vocational goals. As noted, we are working to substantially improve and enhance the VSOC program to include evaluating additional institutions for possible future participation. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my statement, and I look forward to your questions.
Well, I want to thank the panel, all of you, for your testimony and your written statements. And I now yield myself 5 minutes for questions. Mr. Kaufman, I specifically want to thank you for your service and for having the courage to share your incredible story. It's uplifting and gives us all a lot of hope. It's clear from your testimony that the Voc Rehab program has really given you opportunities you need to be successful. And so what do you believe could be done to improve the program and make sure that we have the opportunity to help hundreds, if not thousands, of veterans be successful and have stories like yours? Hopefully not the first part, but the later part.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the compliments, Mr. Chairman. In regards to policy, I would have to defer to any policy decisions to the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America's D.C. Policy team. But in my experience, the relationship matters. So the relationship that I have with my VRNE counselor matters. And I live in rural America, and geographical lines get redrawn on a regular basis, and caseloads get switched. And as a gentleman who struggles with trust, putting me on a new caseload, just like with my VHA doctors, throws me for a loop. And now I'm having to remember which person to get a hold of, what's their phone number. Right when I memorize somebody's phone number, it may change to a new individual. But opening, in particular, the VSOC counselors to many more campuses, especially as Mr. Hubbard said from the SVA, to campuses that don't have a lot of resources, would be very beneficial, especially in my area, because we're making an investment in the veteran. We're not making an investment in a particular institution, and our job is to make sure that the veteran is successful. Does that answer your question, Chairman?
It does. It's very helpful, because I think one of the things that you touched on is important. You know, as a physician, I always find it important that, yeah, once in a while I may be able to pinch hit for somebody in my practice, but that's a relationship between you and the patient that really needs to be sustained. Somebody can cover for you once in a while, but to really be successful, you need that time and time again, and you build that bond. And so that input is very helpful to us. And that may be something that we need to make sure that we monitor and that we are providing some consistency for people, because you're at a point in your life where a lot of things are very inconsistent. And let's face it, when you're in uniform, things are pretty consistent. And so that's a big shift when you go from that. You know, I said during my deployment, I hated being away from home, but it was a simple life except for the fact that people were shooting at me. You know, and from that standpoint, I wore the same clothes every day. So that's a transition, and you need that type of consistency in your life. And to that, Mr. Harrison, if I can go to you, and maybe you can expound on some of that consistency and the doctor as well. In your programs, I would appreciate hearing that component, because that's something that I think we really need to focus on, and also maybe touch on the sharing of a counselor between facilities and universities.
Thank you, sir. One thing that we see at the University of Cincinnati, we do have a number of colleges within a certain proximity of ours. There's about 9 total. And we do have veterans from other schools calling our VSOC counselor for assistance in her caseload so she can help them. That's why in my earlier statements I did mention that maybe if there's another counselor in the region who can cover those schools, the smaller schools, the total number of veterans that they have wouldn't equal the amount we have at the University of Cincinnati. However, that veteran would get their needs met. When I was at another institution, I would hear the horror stories from veterans trying to get in touch with their Voc Rehab counselor. Nobody's picking up the phone, and the office wasn't that far away, where the veterans manager would have to get in his car, go to the office, like, hey, you have veterans here who have questions. They're making phone calls, but you need to get with them. So that's why we believe that the program should expand. It is a benefit. That is a selling point we do have at the University of Cincinnati, and we try to use that to entice veterans to come to our school.
Well, I appreciate that, and Doctor, if you could weigh in, the ranking member has obliged me with a little more time here, and well, I'll grant him the
A
same.
little more freewheeling.
I think we
We have a chance to really, yeah, go ahead.
to really dive in. So, and I also am curious of what you may feel. Of course, it depends on the number of veterans at each institution that we're talking about, but it'd be nice if we could figure out a good ratio of counselors per veteran or institutions. Doctor?
Thank you, Chairman. We have approximately 1,100, 1,200 veterans on campus. We have 100 military students, active duty, and probably 150 to 200 veterans who are no longer using GI Bill. They've run out of benefits. Our VetSuccess on campus counselor pretty much handles just University of South Florida students. I mentioned in my testimony about the caseload, the VRD caseload that she has now. That caseload of 50 now really inhibits her ability to reach a lot of the other students on campus. In effect, now she spends 1/3 of her time with only less than 5% of the students on campus because it's a little bit more intensive with managing a caseload. So that has been a problem. But as far as the consistency, that's something we've been able to keep over the course of time since she's been there. She's been there for 5 years. Same person. Everybody on campus knows her. She's had an impact in the life of many, many veterans, in particular one that was on the verge of going to commit suicide when she had a meeting with Janine. Janine was able to stop her, walk her over to the VA, get her checked in, and today she's still in school. So this program is an extremely valuable program, and I really think that with some minor tweaks that it could be even better than it is today.
I appreciate that, and I recognize Mr. Takano.
So great. So I'm trying to get your name from South Florida, Mr. Braue. Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Are you a public university or a private university?
We are a public university.
And what's your total student enrollment?
Total student enrollment is 48,000.
So
a little over 48,000.
48,000. How many counselors do you have available just generally your counselor available to the general student population?
We have one VSOC counselor on campus.
One VSOC, but let's just talk about counseling in general, not counseling that's available to veterans. I want the committee to understand the plight of community colleges and public universities in terms of the availability of counselors generally and the general challenge of retention to students that come to public universities.
Well, we have VA counselor, just the one. We have other counseling services on the campus that are open to all students. They're not heavily utilized by our student veterans because they just are not experienced with the issues that student veterans face, and our veterans won't go to them.
I understand that. But what I'm trying to get at is I come from the California community colleges, and we have such a shortage of counselors generally. So one of the strategies has been to require every student to take a counseling class, to get a 1 unit for that class, so that the issues that a counselor would deal with can be dealt with, quote unquote, more efficiently. And community colleges, for example, have a general issue with retention. And so what I'm trying to get at is a general counselor shortage. I come from a public school setting where for 1,000 persons in a freshman class, you might have 2 counselors assigned. So basically you have a 500 to 1 counseling burden, right? So I'm just trying to say I don't believe that the counseling function in higher education, public higher education, is much better, probably even more difficult. The amount of time that a counselor is able to spend with a regular student. Now, I'm just trying to try to go through this background in order to shine I think, a little clearer light on what the challenge is when we deal with a veteran who has a much more complex set of issues. So we already have a challenge in terms of retention in the general student population. Now we're talking about how we address veterans who have been through, who carry a lot of other issues with them. So my thought is, so you're telling me, okay, this VSOC counselor also has a VRNE, a caseload of about 50, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So, so is that generally the case, Mr. Kammerer, that the VSOC counselors also carry the VSOC counselors also have a VRNE kind of function?
That's a good question, sir. Thank you for asking. Of the 79 counselors, I look at a regular spreadsheet of their caseload. We currently don't have a policy that says VSOC counselors cannot do a traditional caseload. As Dr. Brown pointed out, we run the gamut from 0 up to what I might call a full caseload. When I testified to the committee in July, I said our average caseload was about 139 per counselor. So for FY15, I think that was accurate. So Dr. Brown's math was about right in my head when he said if his VSOC counselor had 50 cases, that was about 1/3 of the average caseload. We are looking at a policy to limit the caseload of traditional cases, Mr. Takano. The challenge we have is many of the veterans on campus are Chapter 31 clients, or some of them. And we need to serve those veterans on campus with Chapter 31 services with a traditional range of support that our counselors provide. I use the example in Los Angeles of the VSOC counselor, as you know, that serves 3. We have a cluster of 3 institutions in Los Angeles. The challenge, as you know, in Los Angeles is the regional office is on the other side of town from those institutions. So if we didn't serve those veterans on campus with the VSOC counselor with their Chapter 31, we would either have to have counselors come from across town from the RO to the campuses, or we would have to ask the veteran to come to the RO, which is not a good idea in Los Angeles traffic. So in many cases, I spoke to a counselor this week who was visiting for other purposes, who's a VSOC counselor, and she carried a caseload of 62 cases, and she was comfortable with that in her current situation. So it is a balancing equation, Mr. Takano, in terms of serving the veterans.
Here's, if I may, let me get to Mr. Kaufman. Mr. Kaufman, I also want to express how moved I was by your testimony, and thank you for your courage. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for continuing to serve our country by being so open about your life and the struggles you've been through, and for being a success. That's going to be you'll be even you already are a hero, you'll be a bigger hero to show, no, seriously, I mean, I have veterans in my community and dealing with a number of issues, and to see somebody get through that is going to be an enormous inspiration to them. Now, tell me about, you talk about your relationship with the VRNE, because you're getting your education through your VRNE benefits, not through post 9/11, which we know VRNE is much more a generous program if you can qualify for it. You initially went through taking out loans. You didn't really know about your educational benefits. Was it the DSOC counselor that kind of got you straightened out? Is that what happened?
So, first of all, Mr. Takano, thank you for, again, the compliments. It was actually, it would have been a Mr. Harrison or a Dr. Braue that pulled me to the side and advised me of VRNE. And then a year later, we got a vital counselor. What the vital counselor can provide is VA benefit access sooner, almost immediate, rather than me attempting to contact my VRNE counselor, who may have 100, especially in September and in January, when she may have 150 veterans trying to reach her. This vital counselor, if I'm having benefit issues, back payment issues, or overpayment issues, he has the ability to contact the VBA on my behalf and then relay any news from the VBA. Well,
your story and your trouble, your challenges are giving me a window into understanding what happens and how people become homeless and how they go through initial missteps. I'm concerned about the caseload of VRNE of 50 people to that one DSOC person. I mean, you have a huge student veteran population. And I can imagine that counselor totally being consumed by those 50 VRE. Man, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, you hear Mr. Kaufman's story, and you see how much time and energy it takes for that trusted person to do their job. That's just 50 people. I'm not saying that all of them, will be as intense as Mr. Kaufman, but I can imagine that a lot of them are. So I can't imagine that we don't have a presence on campuses. That's my thing. That we don't. That Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Braue. May respond.
No, I thank you, sir. I completely agree. The having this VetSuccess on campus counselor is essential. It's absolutely essential. The caseload, the Chapter 31 caseload that she has, does take away from her ability to meet the needs of other people who might need her services. And it is a Chapter 31 case. It can be intensive. Especially having her on campus, it makes her more accessible than most VRE counselors who only come to campus once in a while. So her being on campus, her caseload, the people that she is managing can walk in 2 or 3 times a week to see her, which then exacerbates the problem of her not being able to reach other people. So she's really spending more time on the Chapter 31s than she would if she were not a VRE, if she was a VRE somewhere else. So that becomes an issue too. But having her on campus, even with a smaller caseload, I think we could agree that there is a limit that she could have. However, 50 does seem to be a little excessive from what we've been able to observe over the past several months.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, let me thank all of you today. I think in a short time we really learned a lot, and we got a lot of good information. Mr. Hubbard, I appreciate your input too with the changes that you recommend, and I hope, Mr. Kammerer, that you got as much out of this today as I think we did, and that benefits all of us. And so I look forward to continuing to work with everyone here today to ensure that we reach our goals and take care of our veterans who deserve no less than our great attention. So finally, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include any extraneous material in the record of today's hearing. Hearing no objection, so ordered. And if there's nothing further, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.